A couple of months ago, Lisa and I surveyed our channel members and asked them what they thought were the worst things about the aquarium hobby. And I promised you in that video that if we got enough of a response, we would do a part 2. Now here we are. Here are 10 more terrible things about the fish keeping hobby, according to our channel members and us. Old Fish Guy says, fellow fish keepers who feel/think they know everything and criticize others. This is something I've talked about quite a few times on this channel. It's something that bothers me, and it's the reason why, unless it's YouTube, I have nothing to do with social media. When you give people a platform to express their opinions, that's great, but there's gonna be a lot of those people that take that as their opportunity to just bash people and try to make everybody believe that they're doing the right thing and everybody else is doing everything wrong. I don't know. It's very ego-driven. It drives me crazy, and it's not something that I like to participate in. I am in no place to flex my muscles and show everybody how smart I am. I don't need that. I don't know. I just want to live my life. I don't care if others are smarter than I am when it comes to fish keeping, and I don't care if people have a different opinion than me. So I just stay away from it altogether, because when you're in person, you don't really deal with that. So I stay away from social media and I just meet with people in person. Although, I mean, what I'm saying right now makes absolutely no sense because I'm literally posting this video to social media. I'm just saying I don't visit social media. I don't know.
Jacqueline Torrey says, constant maintenance. That's one that I agree with and I disagree with, because maintenance is going to be all about what you make it to be. If you're someone that has multi-tank syndrome, MTS, then your maintenance is going to be insane. And trust me, I know. I've got several tanks of my own, and maintenance is a bit extreme at times. But if you want to avoid that, then the best thing to do is just have 1 tank or 2 tanks. Another reason why maintenance can be a little overwhelming is because you might have a tank that has too much stuff in it, and that's a lot you have to keep up with. A lot of cleaning, the algae, moving things around and cleaning underneath, in between, behind it. So maintenance is going to be all about what you make it to be.
I'm getting older and I don't know why I printed this out so small. It's going to be embarrassing putting my face right up to it. But Stephen P. 2003 says, the constant nagging anxiety in the back of your mind that something is about to go wrong, that you forgot some small detail and you're going to wake up one day to dead fish, water on the floor, or who knows what else. Yeah, this is absolutely true. I certainly suffer from that anxiety myself, and I have had that exact scenario that Stephen P. is talking about. You wake up and there is some kind of huge disaster. If you've been in this hobby long enough, you've probably had that too. But one of the ways that I've been able to get through that is to understand that there is no possible way that you're gonna do everything right, and there's no way that you're never gonna encounter a problem in this hobby. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So you do your best, you try to set everything up properly, you try to take the best care of your fish possible, and you just enjoy it. Because no matter what you do, no matter how thorough you are, something bad's gonna happen at some point. I've had absolutely catastrophic events happen in this hobby that some have been so bad that have kind of made me question whether I want to continue in this hobby anymore. So believe me when I tell you, I can relate to this, but I've just learned in my advanced years that you just have to enjoy it, and you do your best, and whatever happens, happens.
97 judge says losing fish, especially when you have no idea why and you've been diligently and responsibly giving them the best of care. I agree with that because losing a fish can be so traumatizing. I've had a fish that I was very much attached to and it broke my heart. I really feel horrible about losing that fish. But on the other side of that, I know that I gave that fish the best of care and I did everything I possibly could to give him the happiest home and happiest life he could have had while he was around. Because he was a rescue beta, he already had the cards stacked against him. So a long life for him was probably less likely than a more healthy beta. One thing you do need to realize is that fish don't always live as long as other fish. You know, just like humans, we don't all live to be 90 years old. People sometimes die younger. Unfortunately, fish are the exact same way. You might do everything you can, do everything perfect, and you're still gonna lose that fish. But hopefully, in the long run, you're okay and you're able to move on with that and not let it bring you down.
Matthew Meyer says, trying to explain to your normal friends why 400 gallons of water in your living room is okay and normal. Now listen, this is something that you deal with in any kind of hobby that you have. Even if you're somebody that enjoys restoring motorcycles, at some point you're probably going to have 10 or 12 motorcycles in different configurations kind of spread out all over the place. And somebody who's not into motorcycles is going to come in and say, what is all this? It looks like a junkyard. I don't care what you're into, even something like fitness. If you're one of those fitness nuts and your friends come over and they're like, hey, you want to sit down and watch the game? And you're like, no, I'm going to go for a run. They look at you like you're a madman. And I will look at you that way too. But this is everywhere. It doesn't really matter what kind of hobby you're into. People are going to look at it and not really understand it unless they are in the hobby themselves. We all go a little bit crazy and we all go overboard. I know I certainly have. I've got like 700 gallons in my garage. It's pretty crazy, but you just have to be in it to understand it. And what I say is, don't even try to justify it to people that aren't fish keepers, because then you look like you're trying to sell this hobby to them. Just have them look at it. If they want to comment on it, great. I know you want them to, because that's why we do this. But if they don't comment about it, it's fine. They don't need to understand. This is our thing. And if they don't get it, they can just move on. Or that one guy can just go for a run. Me and you will hang out.
Liz says, trying to explain to a non-fishy, loving hubby why I need another tank so I can keep different types of fish that cannot go in my other tank. Liz, I'm sorry you have to go through that. Pretty much what you're going through is what John went through when he first met me. I wasn't into fish either, but he somehow converted me over to being a fish-loving, crazy person. And so for you, I don't think it's completely impossible. Just give it time. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, then maybe you can just use the fish hobby as one of those things that you can get gifts from your husband for or something. Like have him get you fish stuff for Christmas or fish stuff for your birthday, because you know what? Men have problems trying to figure that stuff out. Just an idea.
You're right. Jeff S. says, unexpected tank crash. Tank is running perfect for months or years. Then one time during a water change, you forget something. Next morning, best case, everyone is gasping at the top. Worst case, everyone is just at the top. I think we all know what Jeff means when we say up at the top. I have been through this before, and it was actually not a scenario where I forgot to turn something on. It was something completely unexpected. It was a filter failure, and I lost all of my fish. And we're talking about a well-established long-term tank that was very prominent in my videos. I actually did a video about this quite some time. I'm like this on the thumbnail if you want to look it up. But yeah, that is something that we deal with in this hobby. Again, like other things we've talked about, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You will deal with something catastrophic, and sometimes it might be your fault. Like Jeff said, you forget to turn the filter on or something like that. Or it could be something that, like I had, you have a filter failure. I've actually had both scenarios. But anyway, these kind of things are gonna happen eventually. You know, you try to do everything right, but no matter how hard you try to do everything right, if your filter's gonna fail, it's gonna fail. And they do. I mean, it doesn't matter if you get the most expensive filter in the world or the cheapest filter in the world. I mean, at some point it's gonna fail. So you just cross your fingers and you try to get the right ones. You try to get the filters that get the best reviews for longevity and stuff like that. And you do your work and you maintain the tank as good as you can. And you just hope that things like that aren't gonna happen. But again, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but it is true that if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And it sucks, but you just try to prevent it. I don't know.
Mandy Boyd says, living in an area where you have to drive for over an hour just to get to the nearest pet store, let alone a specialized fish store. Ugh. Mandy, I feel for you because that's a tough one. You probably do a lot of online fish shopping just because of that. But one thing I can say is that John and I, we have to travel a lot too to get to a specialized fish store, at least 45 minutes to the closest one, but our favorite one is probably an hour and a half to 2 hours away. What we like to do is make the best of the trip and go up there and make it a day, sort of like a date day. And we'll have lunch or dinner, whatever the meal is closest to the time period that we're there. So, like I said, we make the best of it. And then another thing, you know, maybe you could save money by doing that. Like save your money up and just spend it once in a while when you go there, because if that fish store was closer, you would probably be broke. So it's a kind of a good and a bad thing.
Evan Rifkin says, the wait. Waiting for a tank to cycle, or fish to breed, or fry to grow. Waiting stinks. But in a way, it makes it all the more fulfilling when it finally does happen. Now, Lisa and I, we got the opportunity to meet Evan online. He gave us a tour of his fish room, which was magnificent. And I happen to know that Evan is significantly younger than I am. Younger people, including me when I was younger, patience is just not a thing. It's the worst, and I get it. When I was younger, way younger, I started keeping fish when I was like 19 or 20 years old. I wasn't waiting for nothing. If I wanted it right now. Cycling an aquarium, whatever. Waiting for this, waiting for that, no. I want it, and I want it right now, and it is the worst. The one positive thing that I can say, though, is that as you grow in this hobby and as you mature to an old man like I am, you start to learn that patience is just kind of a thing. And the waiting and the anticipation is actually kind of fun. It's kind of the fun part of it. Hey, I'm gonna do everything I can do to make sure I'm doing everything right, and then I'll just sit back and I'll wait for the good things to happen. It's hard to grasp if you're a younger person, which I know Evan is, but it does happen. And I know for me, I'm the most patient person in the world when it comes to this stuff now. But 20 years ago, no way. I don't know. It has become that thing for me that it kind of is fun to just be patient and wait for it. Because like Evan said, when you're patient and you wait for those good things to happen, it's that much better when it actually does.
Joe Ader says, one of the worst things about fish keeping is losing money on new fish that should be compatible with your other fish, but they decide they are food. That's one that I have had that situation happen to us before when we were at the fish store and we had fish come in to put in inventory so that we could sell online. There was this peacock that we thought was gorgeous. We wanted to keep it. It looked like it was the right size, that it should be fine, but one of the haps was slightly larger and decided to make that fish his meal. And that happened within 30 seconds. So as far as putting a fish in that you think is supposed to be compatible, you did your research, you did all that, and you read that the fish that you're putting in the tank with the other fish is compatible, I think the most important part is to make sure the fish is the correct size so it doesn't become a meal for the other fish. And yeah, this is where a backup tank comes in handy. Having a backup tank could avoid that fish from becoming a meal. You could stick that fish in the other tank so that it could grow out a little bit before it goes in the tank with the other fish, sort of like John should have done. But he didn't, and that fish is gone.